welcome. My name is Pam Smith, registered dietitian and nutritionist and chef, and I'm here today to give you an incredible boost of inspiration about how to make your own version, your house-made, homemade version of a plant-based burger. We all know there are a lot out there on the market. They just have absolutely, in some ways, feels like it's taken over restaurant menus. Well, I work with restaurants. That's my main focus. I have the incredible blessing opportunity to co-chair the Healthy Menus R&D Collaborative from the Culinary Institute of America. We work and are a collaborative of large volume food service companies, all asking the question, how do we address the incredible craze around plant-based? A craze, a trend that has even found legs through this pandemic. It's interesting because maybe if we asked people last year why they were interested in a plant-based burger, it might have been a somewhat altruistic thought that, well, it's good for my body and it's good for the planet. I feel like I should be eating less meat. If we ask them today, and many surveys have been done asking that exact question, it's not so much just about the planet, although that's always there. It's the fact that plant-based has a health halo around it. And because of some of the ingredients that could be in a real food plant-based burger, all of a sudden you get this sense of, I'm gonna get something that's gonna support my immunities. I'm gonna get an opportunity to have that little edge when it comes to being my healthiest best. So plant-based, it's continuing. Also, as co-chair of the Healthy Menus R&D Collaborative, I'm not crazy about ultra-processed anything. I'm not crazy about kind of taking a benefit that could be there from plant-based, but having to accept a product that's higher sodium, higher saturated fat than sometimes even a regular burger. Well, to the rescue comes an incredible trend of its own. The trend is to blend, and that is the blend. It's a roasted mushroom blended with your protein of choice. Yesterday, if you had a chance to join us in this very booth, we had a chance to do a blended burger. It was over the top amazing, a very lean, grass-fed burger, just 90-10, but rather than a hockey puck, by blending it with a ground roasted mushroom, we were able to get, instead a burger that was over the top with umami, over the top with moisture, because that's what mushrooms bring to the party. They bring that incredible craveability. It's because of the nucleopeptides that are there. They also bring to us this incredible sponge-like action that mushrooms have to hold the moisture in. So the eatability of a burger like that, be it a beef burger, a lamb burger, a turkey burger, a chicken burger, all works and works incredibly. Today, we're going to take a little extra step out and look at what I call a possible burger. Now, these recipes are available to you. Again, you just by coming in to our cooking session today, we'll have a message given to you by getting your email. You'll be able to get all of these, all part of the booth. And speaking of getting, we also have some incredible swag bags of all about mushrooms, all about from the Mushroom Council. You might find a t-shirt here or there, you might find a cutting board, you might find an incredible apron. All that you need to do is think about a question. And as we're going through this recipe, you can either post that in the chat room. We have Maria that's hosting us. She'll be able to parlay that question to me, or if we have a chance at the end, maybe you'd like to step up to the stage and ask that question on your own. So there's a swag bag in your future. You also, again, by getting the recipes, will not only get this one for the possible burger today, but also get the blended burger that we did yesterday, and tomorrow, because it's Tuesday after all, we're doing a stepped up Taco Tuesday taco bar, where instead of using beef, or in this case, garbanzo beans and farro for our plant-based version, we're gonna be using turkey meat to do a traditional taco meat with turkey and mushrooms, but then we're also going to be doing a portobello steak. So you kind of think of it as steak fajitas, except it's portobello steaks that we'll be doing. Those recipes are available for you as well. Today, we need to get started on this recipe, which is what we're going to do right now. If you haven't yet had an introduction to the blend, first of all, it's all about the mushroom. It's all about, as I've already said, the flavor, that umami, the unctuousness, the craveability of mushrooms. It's also about the functionality, the fact that it, again, serves as this incredible vehicle to hold flavor into whatever product you're doing, and also hold the moisture in. It's a very forgiving use of an ingredient. But there's one more thing, and that's the functionality. Because what we find with that kind of functionality is the nutrition part that is near and dear to everyone who is watching us today. Our heart, our soul, what we work with and focus on every day is how to give people that added nutritional edge, that added nutritional boost. And mushrooms have become the darling for that. Again, they've been one of the top trends in not only flavor, but in nutrition for the last couple of years, and have absolutely risen to the top of that list as we've been dealing with these days, these pandemic days. Why? Well, because mushrooms are one of the only plant sources of vitamin D. You all know that. It's the only produce on the produce aisle that naturally contains vitamin D. Whether it's a white button mushroom or whether it's a cremini mushroom, once it's been exposed to ultraviolet light, just like in our skin where we get a conversion and a production of vitamin D, the same thing happens in these mushrooms. So creminis, which are baby bellas, what they grow up to be, the portobello, again, have well over 100% of our RDA for vitamin D. The white button mushroom does as well, about 128% of the recommended daily allowance for vitamin D. But oh, there's so much more. Also power packed with selenium, again, power antioxidant, ergothioneine, which again works to not only regenerate and create DNA, but plays a very big part in our overall support for the immunity system. B vitamins, potassium, the list goes on and on. Nutrition and flavor, it's a nutritious, delicious package you just have to say yes to, especially when it's in the blend. So to make the blend, you first need a roasted mushroom base. And that's what I've done here. I've just sliced the mushrooms. I've tossed them with just a little touch of olive oil and a Creole seasoning, or you could use kosher salt. I prefer Diamond Crystal kosher salt because it has a lower sodium per volume because of its crystal shake, and a little bit of black pepper. Get that into a very hot 400-degree oven. And the goal here is to not just dehydrate them, dry them out, but more importantly, concentrate the flavor. So you take a tray of mushrooms such as this, and you literally concentrate it to about half the size that it would be. So if you're needing 8 ounces or a cup of a roasted mushroom base, you would start with twice that much, 16 ounces, because you're literally cooking out, evaporating out all of that moisture, reducing the mushroom down so it becomes this incredible flavor sponge that we're going to use. Once you get this done, actually there's a lot of things that you can do with these mushrooms. They're awesome to sprinkle on flatbreads. They have so much flavor. You can even grind them in your coffee blender and make your own mushroom dust or powder, or you can get it over to your food processor and pulverize it, grind it to where it's the size of ground beef. It actually looks like ground beef, which is why school kids that are fed a blended burger say it's the best burger they've ever had, even though questioned right before, do they eat mushrooms? Would they eat mushroom? They answer like a school kid might. No, absolutely not. When they find out that it's mushrooms that made that so good, and yet they couldn't even see it because it looked just like the beef. we have a ding, ding, ding winner. And that's exactly what's here. So again, you can get these done. Once done, you can freeze them. They freeze beautifully. I just pop them into a Ziploc bag, freeze them, let them thaw for me in the refrigerator, or do what I'm going to do today, which is make this version of my possible burger. To start, we're going to be using chickpeas as the legume protein. You could use a variety of different ones. Soybeans would work in this. Lentils work beautifully too. I'm using the chickpeas because I use this particular burger in a lot of restaurants, and oftentimes they're using a canned chickpea, and when they open that can, they also have aquafaba. They have the chickpea liquid. Rather than draining that off and then rinsing the chickpeas, I instead have them drain it into a bowl. And if you've not yet heard about the wonder of aquafaba, it's incredible. You can use it as an egg replacement, an egg white replacement. Actually whips up to an incredible meringue. Or in this case, I'm using it as an egg replacement for my plant-based burger. So again, I've drained that chickpea liquid off of the chickpeas, the aquafaba. I'm gonna put that into a bowl to get started with this dish, and I'm gonna mix into it some panko, just some Japanese dried breadcrumbs that are a little, have a little more texture than that classic Italian one. This is making a panade. A panade is what helps to hold a meatloaf together. It's what helps to hold meatballs together. Getting it mixed together in this liquid will enable it to start some of the thickening that's going to happen with this. While that's happening, I'm also going to take some of the chickpeas out from this. I'm using about 13 ounces total, almost 2 cups, taking some of that, a rounded ½ cup, and doing a rough chop on the chickpeas. This is what's going to help, together with the Pharaoh, to give the texture to this possible burger. So much so that, honestly, many chefs have a hard time telling this isn't a meat burger. You might say, well, this is a chicken burger I'm eating, or this could even be a beef burger, depending on what the seasoning blends that you've used. You need that texture. It's one of the problems, I think, that has happened with plant-based burgers of the past, is they just had a little bit of a either mealiness or too much of a mushiness. You really want to use that texture. We're going to use the chickpeas, though, to also blend. That's going to be part of what becomes our base. So again, we took a rounded ½ cup out. We're left with just about a cup, and we're going to put that into our food processor and do a nice smooth puree of these. I'm going to try to do it quickly because it's loud. Just get those going. And then to that, I'm going to add some onion and garlic that I've already have just taken a quick saute in the pan and added a little bit of smoky seasoning. When you get into your recipe, you're going to see a smoky seasoning blend that's smoked paprika with lemon, a little bit of onion and garlic, a tiny touch of salt, just enough to give balance to the dish, but again, not so much that it's overwhelming it. By heating that with these onions and garlic, I've been able to get a bloom of that smoky seasoning. That smokiness is what's giving some of the burger essence to this particular dish. I'm going to go ahead and add my panade to this as well. That's the aquafaba that's serving as my egg, together with the panko, and I'm going to do a nice little blend of this. Quick, loud blend. Just enough to kind of be my glue that's going to hook all of this together, which, again, I think you'll be quite surprised when you get a chance to mix it on your own and see just how quickly and easily this comes together. Now, I already have done a rough chop on those chickpeas. I'm going to get those into a bowl together with the roasted mushroom base. Again, this is the classic blend. If this was animal protein, beef or lamb or turkey or chicken, I would already have this mixed together before I make my burger, before I make my meatloaf, or even the tacos that we're getting ready to do. The other secret ingredient, again, for that texture, but also to really amp up the quality of the protein, is farro. I've cooked the farro in a vegetable stock or water, which would work out fine, just enough, again, to have it be that texture that we're looking for in this particular blend. Beyond farro, you could use quinoa on this, you could use barley or spelt. Any ancient grain really works so nicely. And as everyone here knows, by blending together both the chickpeas and the grain, or again, the legume and the grain, we up the ante on the essential amino acids even more, which one of the things we're also seeing in research is that although people are interested in plant-based products, they're very interested in protein. As we know, as RDs, may be too interested in protein, with the sense that they sometimes feel they need a lot more than they really need. The key always is to show them ways to get, again, real food protein, not just adding powders to this or protein bars to that. And it's one of the reasons that I truly, truly love this blend. Again, nothing raw in here. So you could actually mix it up with your hands if you choose. You could taste it. When I'm doing a beef burger, I'm usually having to do a little trial to see if I've gotten the seasoning just right. But because this is all cooked product, vegetable, produce, no need to do that. And you see what happens. You start getting this, again, hamburger-like kind of blend that comes together quite nicely. You can do just a little taste of it. I had added a little bit of that smoke and seasoning to it. Wow, so good. The texture, even before it's cooked, so, so good. I like to go ahead and form this into patties, and then get it into the refrigerator for just about 30 minutes, just enough to give it a little holdability, because it is the aquafaba. That refrigeration will help to just make it a little easier to do. It's what I've done with these particular ones, have already formed them. I like to sprinkle a little more of the panko atop it. And this is where, if you wanted to also add a little extra seasoning, maybe a Creole seasoning, or maybe, again, just a little touch of some kosher salt and a little bit of black pepper, whichever you would choose to do. Either in a grill pan or in a skillet, get it really nice and hot, just about smoking hot. Add just a little touch of olive oil. And then let's get this patty right into the skillet. Nice. And you can make these either size. I have both a traditional size burger, but then in addition to that, I also made it as a slider burger. One of the things I found in food service is that people really sometimes are a little overwhelmed by a big plant-based burger, but somehow that slider is just a little more approachable. Being able to grill it in this way and get that nice crunchiness and crispiness with it, and then building it into your classic kind of burger, be it the slider or be it the burger, you kind of have a slam dunk, which works really, really nicely. You also have a recipe for Shiitake Aioli. Easy thing to put together. I use shiitakes here, but since you've already perhaps bought some baby bellas or creminis, or maybe even your white buttons, any mushroom will do. The recipe just calls for you doing a quick saute with the mushrooms, garlic, onion, mixing it into your mayonnaise of choice. This is a vegan mayonnaise because we're doing an all plant-based burger, wanted to keep with that tradition. So again, a vegan mayonnaise would do. If you wanted to add a little bit of a plant-based cheese on top of it, that can work out well. Also, when I'm building a burger, I always like to put my greens on the bottom just to give a little bit of height, and then usually like to put my topping right on that topper part of the bun. There's also a recipe for a smoky tomato glazed. I used it not just on my burger yesterday, but I also used it as a ketchup-like ingredient to go on the mini loaves, the blended burger mini loaves. It would be terrific here also. Get a nice little sear going on that. Give a nice little flip. You hear that sear. Yeah, so nice. And already you start seeing some of that burger-like capability coming together. And again, giving just that little added touch that you're looking for. A plant-based burger that's not ultra-processed, a plant-based burger that's loaded with real food nutrition, a plant-based burger that, because of the blend, is power-packed with not only nutritiousness, but also deliciousness. Who could ask for anything more? But speaking of asking, Maria, do we have some questions?
Yes, Pam, we have so many questions. I'm going to start with a few here.
Okay.
I think some of them lean in really well to this wonderful recipe that you shared. First question, what is Pharaoh and where can you find it?
Fantastic. Pharaoh is an ancient grain, as it's called. You can find it at any grocery store now. I live in Orlando, Florida, so mine came from Publix, of course, from Whole Foods, and that tiny, tiny little online retailer called Amazon. You can get it from them as well. It cooks like a grain. You can make Pharaoh risotto with it. You can cook it just like rice. Takes a little bit longer to cook, but it's, again, a whole grain, and love to use it, love to take advantage of it. When I'm trying to bring out the best of flavor, I actually toast it a little bit in a dry pan before I add the cooking liquid. Again, in this case, because I'm using it in plant-based, I would cook it after toasting it with a little bit of vegetable stock or water, your seasonings, and again, let that water uptake into it just like it's rice. So a great thing to give a try to if you've not before. Great question.
Love it. We just had another question come in about how to wash mushrooms. Sometimes they have, a few specks of something on them. How do you recommend?
Well, so interesting, those little specks of something on them has all been sterilized. And so with that, you don't really need to fear that you're taking in any alien or foreign things you don't like to do. But because mushrooms are such a sponge, I tend to not wash mine under running water. I'm sure you've heard that before, but instead just take a damp sponge and literally wipe that little bit of the added kind of growing medium away. And that's really what it is. It's a growing medium. And you can see just that little bit of water does exactly that. It takes it away. But again, you're not having to fear that you're eating dirt or eating compost.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Another question.
Yes, another question. Lots of questions about varieties. And if you can't find a specific kind of mushrooms, what do you swap for? What are you using today? Yeah, let's just cover that.
That's great. So again, who doesn't love portobellos? They actually have probably been the darling of the vegetarian plate or the vegan plate for so long. Back, it feels like 100 years ago, I had the opportunity to help create a restaurant called Bahama Breeze. And even back in the mid-90s, we did a portobello burger, but it was just that whole portobello that was grilled like this and then packed it with roasted red peppers and different kinds of grilled zucchini and a great kind of spread. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing something very similar, but slicing it into steak-like, again, like the steak fajitas. So portobellos can use in any way. They're a little more expensive. So again, I tend to go with their not quite grown up version, and that's the baby bello or the cremini. Even a little less expensive as well are the white buttons, and that's actually what I used right here. Flavor-wise, you're getting that same kind of umami, you're getting the same functionality of it, a little more vitamin D and selenium in the ultraviolet light exposed creminis and portobellos than you have in the white buttons, but it's not enough to worry about. And try some of the cool varieties. One of my favorites is called beach mushrooms, tiny little mushrooms that are just incredible sauteed and put on top of a steak, or incredible blended into a risotto. Oyster mushrooms have this incredible texture and do great. Trumpet mushrooms, all of these are cultivated. And again, that's the big thing that the Mushroom Council is all about. It's supporting the mushroom farmers. So we don't talk as much about the foraged mushrooms, those that, you know, require so much to get out and try to forage and find. It's the cultivated mushrooms that we can depend upon for that consistency. Another one of my favorites are trumpet mushrooms that you can even grill on skewers, and they're almost like grilling ribs. There's just so many cool things you can do with mushrooms, so branch out. Flavor is similar in all. Umami is pretty similar in all, but you'll find, most importantly, the functionality, that moisture holding, that's the same in all.
Great, I love it. One more question about introducing mushrooms to kids. What are your recommendations?
Well, it's interesting. I said that little story before. We're finding that K-12 organizations throughout the country have really embraced the blend. They were actually some of the early adopters of it right after we rolled it out from the Healthy Menus R&D Collaborative. Because of the dietary guidelines and the guidelines that K-12 are required to, the mushroom burger gives them the opportunity to put all the right things into play. It worked for them in a way that a classic burger would not. And again, kids just love it. You don't have to call it a mushroom blended burger. You just call it a burger, the best burger ever. Not so different than marketing to adults. In restaurants, when one of my clients is getting ready to put on a blended burger, I don't have them call it anything more than what it is. Maybe it's a Southwest burger that's done with a blend, and they top it with a pepper jack cheese and some jalapenos, or maybe they call it a pork mushroom burger because they put a pork mushroom sauce atop it. Whatever direction you go, just let it be a burger. The mushrooms do nothing but add incredible flavor, incredible moisture, and forgiveness. Today's world, where takeout and delivery has become so big, with mushrooms in the burger, you don't have to worry about it making a soggy bun because those mushrooms help to hold it in place. You don't have to feel you're deceiving kids. Just feed them a dish that they love. It's why the blend in a burger is so great. It's an iconic food that America loves. Why not just make it a little bit better? And that's what the blend does.
Great, thank you. One more question about vitamin D. Are all mushrooms exposed to vitamin D? What if they're grown indoors? How do you know whether or not mushrooms have that component?
All mushrooms are grown indoors. All cultivated mushrooms are grown indoors, and some are, again, UV exposed, and you'll see that right on the label. You'll see ultraviolet light, you'll see UV light exposed, and again, it gives you that sign that it's got a little bit more and more. Mushroom farmers are looking to do that because they know that that vitamin D coming through the mushroom naturally is really an incredible advantage. I mean, to be the only produce that contains it, phenomenal. I mean, there's so few foods that contain vitamin D naturally, salmon, eggs, very, very few. To have mushrooms be it, that's pretty special indeed. So look at the label.
Great. I'm going to let you get back into the recipes before we ask a few more questions.
Okay, well, I think we're kind of coming to the end of it. All that I did with this beautiful possible burger, in this case, I made the slider. I put that little bit of arugula on the bottom of the bun, a little bit of that shiitake, smoky shiitake aioli, topped it with the top, and look out, you've got deliciousness coming your way. So whether it's a classic burger or whether it's a slider, the possible burger needs to find its way onto your menu at home or whatever facility you might work in, whatever realm of dietetics you might be in. It's a way to show people that plant-based food is delicious and nutritious and doesn't have to be ultra processed. I'm all about real food nutrition, and I know most of you all are as well.
Thank you so much, Pam. This has been wonderful. I'm so excited to share all these mushroom recipes with everyone that is in the chat today and in the Zoom call. We have a few more questions, and I know that Kim Bedwell is out in the booth as well. But any final thoughts, Pam, that you would like to share before we wrap this all up?
Yeah, I would think the big thing is really look at mushrooms through a different eye. I think that's the big thing. I have been working with mushrooms, it feels like my whole life, but what we've done in these really almost a decade with the Healthy Menus R&D Collaborative has just taken my mushroom, not just knowledge, but awe about all the things that they can do up to a whole nother level. And it's probably one of the top questions I get now as a registered dietitian, as people are looking to support their immune system. As we know, it's really not about boosting your immune system. It's really supporting it. It's having your body working at its healthiest best. And when we have Dr. Fauci walking around saying that he totally supports a vitamin D supplement, again, I'm always looking for where people can take that in more naturally. I started working with mushrooms way before I started working with even the Healthy Menus R&D Collaborative. Again, feels like decades ago. I was the nutritionist for the Orlando Magic, and because I was so focused on reducing inflammation in my basketball players, later working with pro golfers, I was looking for that edge. And again, mushrooms were just that. It gave that added competitive edge because the nutrients that are found within them. So it's a package that can't be beat.
Thank you so much, Pam. This was wonderful. Again, if you have any questions as you're going throughout FNCE today, for everyone that is here in the Zoom call, feel free to visit the Mushroom Council booth. Kim Bedwell is there and has all of your questions. Thank you for everyone that sent their emails. We will be sending you a mushroom swag bag shortly. And please check back tomorrow. Pam will be here again at the same time to show us a few more recipes.
Yep, stepped up taco bar. Who could ask for more than that? Well, I hope to see you then.
Love it. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.